Daniel 2:21a begins with the third person masculine singular independent pronoun, and then we're going to have three participles in this expression leading up to the atnach. These participles have much in common by form. There's a mem prefix, a he prefix in all three. You can see that. And that tells us that these are hafel participle, and the fact that there's no suffix masculine singular in all cases. And this works nicely because they match the gender and number of the subject, which is placed here before all of them as expected when a participle is predicative. So he is going to be the subject of these verbal actions. Next up, we have this shin, nun, hey verbal root. Hey and the aleph have switched, and this has the idea of changing. And we have an expression here of changing the times, which is interesting because we've actually seen this sort of expression before. It was in Daniel 2:9, which said something like, "You've agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me until the times change," or are changed, something like that. It was with a hitpa'al, TD expression. And this is interesting because at the time the reader might have thought, well, times, they just change. They're just waiting for a time to change. But here Daniel is saying that God has the power to make times change. I say make, of course, because here we have a hafel, right? So that's interesting. God is sovereign over the times. And it's not just, times in general, but also here's this other word, which is also referring to times with this zayin mem nun part right there. We see it's also a determined state word. The zayin mem nun word we have also seen before, leading us up to the zakef katon. This is an appointed time. So God changes times. He's sovereign over time in general, and he's sovereign over the appointed times when things are supposed to happen. So moving on right now to this expression with the ayin dalet hey, he removes, we're keeping the same subject, removes kings, and then kings are going to show up again, and we have sort of an opposite idea with this participle. He removes kings and sets up kings. We say sets up because we have the kum verbal root here, kof vav mem. So all together in Daniel 2:21a, he changes times and appointed times and removes kings and sets up kings.